Going on. We have actually been off the show for, I believe, 2 weeks now.
We skipped 2 weeks.
We had Thanksgiving, and then we turned around and had our Christmas party. Great times. We should have brought pictures for everybody to look at.
We'll bring some next week and work them in.
We had Santa, and it was really funny because some of the kids really thought Santa was amazing, and others were not nearly as interested in sitting on his lap. And so some of those outtakes have become really hysterical, and we've seen our clients go ahead and use those on social media as well. It's been really funny to see.
It has been. And you know, the thing that I like most about doing this holiday party is, number one, we get to do it at my house, and we all decorate my house and make it look really cool, and I get to live through it during Christmas. So it's
good fun. And it's bad because there is a ton of glitter that we put out on that thing, but it's all good, and it is amazing. We did a great job inside to outside. So we definitely need to get those pictures out for everybody.
Yep, we'll do that today.
Yeah, we'll get that.
So what else should we do besides that?
Kind of just, I feel like we've got just a last couple of pushes going through, both with buyers and sellers. We'll get those wrapped up. It's interesting because the market has, as we always know, in December slows down, and it's just different this year. I don't know. I keep looking and thinking, all right, what's 2022 going to be like?
Yeah, true. What did you do over Thanksgiving?
We all met up in Weatherford at my mom and sister's place, and we had a really good time. It's very funny because now the kids are at that age where they can drive, and they don't have to be so in our business. We watched Ted Lasso on a marathon. It was hysterical. I warned everyone that it's a really good-hearted comedy, but there's some really strong language at times, and it just so happened my mom walked in when there was real strong language, and she goes, and on that note, I'm going to my house. It was cute. It was a good time. So what did you do?
You know, Thanksgiving for Adrian and I we're two of the luckiest people on the earth because we have some really close longtime friends that we have lunch with. And so we usually go over there, take a bunch of bottles of champagne, and we have mimosas and this great Thanksgiving dinner. And then about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we leave and we go over to Laura and Devin's house, and we have this really great Thanksgiving dinner. So we get fed twice that day. We don't have to clean up. We just have to, like Brian Buffini says, never come to a house with a straight arm, which means you always bring something with you when you go. So
what I'm hearing is that you didn't cook and you didn't clean. You just
I didn't have no. They
That's awesome.
Nope.
Yeah, my sister did a great job with it. She is a great cook. And Wyatt fried an amazing turkey, and I just kind of corralled everyone and kept the drinks full. So it's all good.
Well, let's talk about the market.
What is
So
going on?
interesting in the market watch. Now, this is compared to 3 weeks ago. We did not gather the data for the last 2 weeks. So I think you're also going to see a more reflective of that seasonal slowdown. New listings are way down. There were only 1,606 that came that were in the system in the last 7 days. 508 back on the market, meaning that the contract fell out. Maybe they were expired and they came back on. There were 773 price decreases, so the number of those is down a little bit. I think that's just because the number in the inventory is down.
And then when a house first goes under contract, there's an option period. And so these are usually the first 5 to 7 days. And we see that there's 1,583 in the last 7 days, which is down 7%. And then pending. Pending means that we're out of our option periods and we're really just waiting on that closing date to arrive. That's also down 5%. It brings us in at 2,571. But sold, take a look at that. Sold transactions in the last 7 days. That's 3,389, which is up 27%. But I want to also couch this by saying that was the end of the month, and we are really comparing that to the middle of the month. And I think this is a really important time for us to point out, because we always say end of the months are much busier, and you can see that very, very clearly here.
Yeah, it's interesting that most people target closing at the end of the month because on the buyer's side of it, it reduces the amount of money they bring to closing if they're doing a mortgage. If they're a cash buyer, it doesn't make a bit of difference. But I think rightly or wrongly, realtors have gotten in the pattern of writing those contracts closing toward the end of the month, and we're trying to avoid that just because we know what happens at the end of the month. Title companies get super busy, and everybody's racing. So we like to close things second week of the month, middle of the month, just to
Take the
not
pressure off.
not have all that stress.
And the other thing too is why it kind of bleeds over into the next 3 days after the end of the month is because it takes time for our office administrators to actually change that status in MLS.
It does.
So that's why it doesn't immediately get reflected on the day of closing too.
So I think it'll be even more interesting next week, because really between now and the end of the year is when we traditionally see the lowest amount of inventory.
Yes.
And then if it's okay with you, maybe that first or second week of January, we could come back and do the year-over-year analysis and kind of show 2019, 2020, 2021 in comparison, and just look at inventory comparatively, sales comparatively, dollar per square foot, all of those things. I think that'll be really interesting.
That's a lot of information, but there's a lot of good ways to do that out of MLS now that we've seen.